The evening sky over the small town had begun to darken as clouds rolled in, but what caught everyone's attention wasn't the weather. Strange lights flickered, shimmering in strange patterns, drawing every eye upward. People stopped what they were doing, some clutching their phones, others staring with growing unease. For decades, humanity had lived with stories and warnings about alien invasions. Now, the impossible seemed to be happening. Sirens wailed in the distance as the town's residents hurried to their windows and doorways, hearts pounding. Just as fear began to settle like a cold weight, bright pods began to descend from the sky, glowing softly with colors unlike anything seen before. The pods didn't crash or explode. They floated down gracefully, landing gently in the town square. Then, instead of weapons or threatening machines, strange little creatures emerged, no taller than a child, with enormous, round eyes that glowed faintly and expressions full of curiosity. Their skin shimmered with soft pastel tones, and each one carried something unusual: balloons, confetti cannons, and ribbons. Confusion mixed with disbelief as the creatures began what looked like an odd form of bombing. But instead of destruction, a shower of colorful confetti rained gently down, swirling through the air with a quiet, joyful sparkle. Bright balloons floated lazily around the plaza, drifting on the breeze as if part of a celebration. People blinked, unsure whether to run or laugh. Children were the first to break the silence, their wide eyes turning to gleeful smiles. They ran outside, arms stretched to catch the falling confetti, their laughter echoing across the street. Dogs barked excitedly, chasing the balloons as they bobbed in the wind. Slowly, the tension that had gripped the town began to unravel. Adults remained cautious, their minds racing with questions. Was this a trick? Some kind of test? But as the aliens bounced and waved, their friendly gestures and harmless antics became impossible to ignore. One elderly man stepped forward hesitantly, holding out a small bouquet of wildflowers. The nearest alien paused, then gently reached out and accepted the gift, their large eyes shining with a strange warmth. That simple exchange changed everything. It was as if a bridge had been built between two worlds, fragile but promising. The town's fear softened into fascination and hope. Cameras came out as people began to document this unbelievable moment, the first true contact not marked by hostility but by innocent playfulness. The aliens did not speak in words humans could understand. Instead, they made soft cooing sounds and mimicked human gestures, laughing when the children tossed confetti back at them. There was no threat in their movements, only curiosity and a desire to connect. Families gathered in the square, some holding hands, others wiping tears of relief and wonder. In the background, the town's emergency lights dimmed as officials realized that this was no attack. Instead, the community began to see the arrival as an unexpected gift, a reminder that the universe could be kinder than its stories had warned. By nightfall, the plaza was transformed. Twinkling lights strung between lampposts, mixed with floating balloons, and confetti drifting slowly to the ground. The aliens had set up small, glowing orbs that pulsed softly, lighting the area with a peaceful glow. People sat together on benches and steps, sharing food, stories, and smiles with their new visitors. Old fears had not vanished completely, but in their place was a fragile trust. Something new had begun, a friendship born from the most unlikely of bombings. The town had been given a glimpse of a future where humans and aliens could coexist, not as enemies, but as companions. And as the stars began to twinkle in the clear night sky, everyone wondered, what would come next? Confetti still floated gently in the evening breeze when the townspeople gathered cautiously in the square. Their hearts were still pounding from the strange arrival, the mystery of the tiny aliens who had bombed them not with destruction, but with colors and laughter. Some stood back, watching with suspicion, while others, especially the children, ran freely among the floating balloons and shimmering confetti, their faces lit with pure joy. The question on everyone's mind was clear. What did these visitors want? At first, no one dared approach too close. Memories of past warnings, stories of hostile invaders, clung to their minds. The confetti felt like a strange peace offering, but trust was fragile. The town's mayor, a woman named Helen, took a deep breath and stepped forward, raising her hands in a peaceful gesture. The aliens responded with gentle nods and soft cooing sounds, their big eyes blinking slowly in what seemed like calm curiosity. The atmosphere was heavy with tension, but also an undeniable sense of wonder. The town's residents exchanged glances, some whispering to each other, others simply watching. Among them was George, a retired schoolteacher known for his quiet wisdom. He shuffled closer to one of the aliens who was holding a small, glowing orb, its light pulsing softly. George reached out slowly, his hand trembling, and the alien carefully placed the orb into his palm. That simple act, the gentle trust shown by both sides, shifted the mood. George smiled, eyes bright with surprise and a touch of hope. The orb's light warmed his skin, and a feeling of calm spread through the crowd. It was as if this small, glowing gift carried a message beyond words, one of peace and possibility. Children, sensing the change, began to play with the balloons and confetti with renewed energy. Dogs barked joyfully, running circles around the plaza. The aliens laughed softly, their melodic voices filling the air as they mimicked the children's movements. The sight was surreal, a peaceful, colorful invasion where fear was slowly replaced by joy. As the night deepened, families gathered closer, some bringing out blankets and snacks. Conversation started quietly, with tentative questions about who the aliens were and why they had come. The aliens, unable to speak human languages, used gestures and simple drawings in the dirt to communicate. They showed pictures of distant stars, ships traveling vast distances, and scenes of loneliness and hope. Helen listened carefully, realizing that the aliens were explorers, travelers seeking connection in a vast and lonely universe. Their bombing was not an attack, but an invitation, a playful greeting meant to disarm and delight rather than harm. The town began to understand that these visitors shared a longing for friendship and belonging, emotions familiar to every human heart. As the hours passed, the initial shock faded into a quiet celebration. The plaza, once a place of tension and fear, now felt alive with possibility. People shared stories of their own experiences with loneliness and the need for community. The aliens responded with gentle touches and smiles, their big eyes filled with empathy. An elderly couple, Mark and Susan, who had lived through wars and hardship, held hands as they watched the scene unfold. For them, this unexpected moment was a reminder that peace could come in the most surprising forms. They whispered to each other that perhaps the universe was not as hostile as they had believed. Toward midnight, the confetti had mostly settled, but the balloons still drifted lazily, casting colorful shadows under the streetlights. The aliens began to prepare small, glowing spheres that floated above the crowd, casting soft, warm light. It was as if they were creating a new kind of campfire, a symbol of unity between the two worlds. Before departing for the night, one alien approached George again, placing a small, shining token in his hand. George looked around at the gathered crowd and smiled. "This is just the beginning," he said quietly, his voice carrying the weight of hope. The town slowly dispersed, but the memory of that night lingered in every heart. Fear had given way to curiosity, suspicion to friendship. The aliens' confetti bombing had become a moment of connection, proving that sometimes the most unexpected gestures could change the course of history. As the stars twinkled overhead, the people of the town went to their homes, carrying with them the wonder of the night and the quiet question that stayed with them all. What would the future hold now that the universe had reached out with open hands? The morning sun cast a soft glow over the town, but the atmosphere was far from ordinary. Overnight, word had spread about the tiny visitors and their colorful bombing. Curious neighbors gathered in small groups, exchanging stories and speculations, some still tinged with caution, others sparkling with excitement. The once quiet streets buzzed with a hum of whispered questions. Who were these aliens? What did they want? Could they be trusted? Among the crowd stood Emma, a school librarian with a gentle demeanor and a lifelong fascination with the stars. She had watched the confetti fall the night before with wide eyes, but now her curiosity had grown into something deeper, a desire to understand these visitors beyond their whimsical arrival. She approached the town square early, hoping to catch a glimpse of the small aliens before the day's chaos began. To her surprise, the aliens were already there, quietly observing the town's morning routine. They moved with cautious grace, their large eyes reflecting the soft morning light. Emma stepped closer, holding out a book she had brought, a simple collection of Earth stories and poems. The aliens paused, tilting their heads in curiosity. Slowly, one reached out and gently touched the cover, as if trying to grasp the meaning of the words inside. Their presence was calming, yet still fragile. The townspeople were torn between skepticism and hope. Some older residents recalled old tales of invasion and destruction, their fears lingering beneath the surface. But as the day unfolded, more began to see the visitors not as threats, but as silent ambassadors of peace. Emma sat on a nearby bench, watching as a group of children approached the aliens with shy smiles. The children offered flowers, drawings, and even small handmade toys. The aliens accepted these gifts with a warmth that surprised everyone. One alien, holding a small wooden bird the children had carved, let out a soft, melodic sound that felt like a song. It was the first moment of true connection, a language beyond words. As the morning wore on, the town's mayor, Helen, organized a meeting in the community hall. She invited a few representatives to discuss how best to welcome and understand their visitors. The aliens listened attentively, their large eyes reflecting a mix of curiosity and caution. They communicated through gestures and simple drawings projected from small devices, sharing glimpses of their journey across the stars. They told of a lonely homeworld, ravaged by isolation and loss. Their mission was one of hope, to find friendship and to share joy across the galaxy. Their bombing with confetti and balloons was their way of breaking the ice, a playful peace offering meant to disarm fear and invite trust. The town's people listened, moved by the vulnerability and earnestness of these small beings. Despite the growing sense of hope, some residents remained uneasy. Whispers of caution rippled through the crowd. George, the retired schoolteacher, spoke up. "Trust must be earned," he said quietly. "But tonight we witnessed something rare, an act of kindness that deserves a chance." His words settled over the room, a gentle reminder that trust was a fragile seed that needed care. Outside, the children continued to play, their laughter mingling with the soft cooing of the aliens. Emma felt a swell of hope as she watched the two worlds slowly begin to blend. The town was no longer just a collection of cautious strangers. It was becoming a community, united by an extraordinary encounter. As the sun reached its peak, The aliens invited a few townsfolk to explore their pods. Inside, the technology was unlike anything on Earth, sleek, glowing softly, yet clearly designed for peaceful exploration. The visitors shared images of distant galaxies and peaceful worlds, dreams of a universe where different species could live side by side in harmony. Emma touched one of the glowing panels, feeling a connection that transcended language. She realized this was just the beginning of a journey toward understanding, friendship, and a new chapter for humanity. The aliens had come not to conquer, but to teach a simple truth. Kindness, even from the smallest gestures, could bridge the greatest divides. As afternoon faded into evening, the town prepared for a celebration, a festival of friendship born from the most unexpected of beginnings. Emma smiled, knowing that the story they were writing together would be one for the ages. The visitors' adorable arrival had sparked something profound, a hope that would not be easily forgotten. And so, with hearts cautiously open and eyes lifted to the stars, the town waited to see what the next chapter would bring. The sun dipped low, casting long shadows over the town as the day's excitement gave way to a quieter, more reflective evening. The townspeople gathered once again in the square, this time with a sense of cautious hope. The aliens, small and unassuming, were no longer mysterious strangers, but guests, tentative friends bridging two worlds. Communication remained a challenge. The aliens had no shared language, and their melodic coos and gestures only went so far. But both sides had discovered a universal truth. Kindness needed no words. Emma sat beside one of the aliens, watching as it carefully studied a worn photo album she had brought from home. The images of family gatherings and childhood memories seemed to capture the alien's attention. With slow, deliberate movements, it reached out to touch a picture of children laughing in a garden. Across the square, George and the town's children were engaged in a simple game. The aliens mimicked their actions, laughing softly when someone tripped or missed a catch. Each shared smile and gentle touch chipped away at the wall of suspicion that had guarded human hearts for so long. For the first time in years, the town felt alive with joy rather than fear. Mayor Helen addressed the crowd, her voice steady but warm. Today, we've learned that fear can be replaced with trust, and enemies with friends. We don't need to speak the same language to understand what it means to care. Her words resonated deeply, especially with those who had lived through times of uncertainty and conflict. Later, as darkness fell, lanterns were lit around the square, their soft glow mingling with the gentle light emitted by the aliens' orbs. Families sat together, sharing food and stories. The aliens joined in, offering small gifts, delicate plants from their home world that glowed faintly in the dim light. The gesture was simple, but it spoke volumes, a desire to share life and beauty across the stars. Emma noticed how the elders seemed particularly moved. Mark and Susan, the elderly couple who had witnessed so much, exchanged knowing glances. "Maybe the universe isn't as cold as we thought," Susan whispered. "Maybe this is the kindness we needed to believe in again." Trust continued to grow through small acts. One alien gently helped a young boy tie his shoelace. Another showed a grandmother how to hold one of their glowing plants carefully. These moments of quiet connection felt profound, threading the lives of two species closer together. Yet, beneath the surface, some questions remained unanswered. Why had the aliens chosen this small town? What was their ultimate goal? Mayor Helen promised that answers would come in time, but for now, patience and openness would guide the way. As the night deepened, the townspeople and their visitors gathered for a shared ritual, an exchange of stories through gestures, drawings, and laughter. Emma found herself laughing alongside the aliens, the sound a bridge across worlds. It was a reminder that joy, too, was a language everyone understood. The evening ended with a moment of quiet reflection. The townspeople looked up at the stars, feeling smaller yet somehow connected to something vast and hopeful. The aliens' visit had changed everything, not with power or force, but with simple, genuine kindness. As people began to return to their homes, hearts were lighter. The future was uncertain, but for the first time in a long while, it was filled with possibility. The aliens' arrival was not just a fleeting event, but the start of a new chapter, one written in confetti, balloons, and the unspoken promise of friendship. And so, under the watchful eyes of the stars, the town slept peacefully, waiting for what tomorrow might bring. The morning air was crisp and cool as the town awoke with a renewed sense of wonder. The events of the past days had shifted something deep within the community. No longer was this just a small town tucked away from the world. It had become a place where the impossible seemed possible, where strangers from another world had become part of their everyday lives. Emma walked through the town square, now dotted with small patches of glowing plants, gifted by the aliens. The soft light they emitted created a peaceful ambience, blending the familiar with the extraordinary. Children played nearby, their laughter mingling with the melodic coos of the visitors. It was a harmony no one could have predicted. Mayor Helen called a meeting in the town hall, inviting both humans and aliens to share ideas about how they could learn from each other. The room buzzed with quiet excitement and nerves. Through a series of drawings and gestures, the aliens showed images of their technology, not weapons, but tools designed to heal and create. There were pictures of vast fields of glowing crops, machines that cleaned water, and devices that could mend broken bones. The crowd listened intently, hope growing with every image. George, the retired teacher, nodded thoughtfully. If they can teach us to care for our Earth better, this could be the start of something incredible, he said. Outside, Emma noticed a group of scientists and engineers who had arrived from nearby towns, drawn by news of the visit. They examined the alien pods and glowing devices with fascination, their skepticism giving way to curiosity. The aliens welcomed their questions with patient gestures, even demonstrating how some of their technology worked through simple interactive displays. As the day unfolded, the town became a hub of collaboration. Humans and aliens worked side by side, sharing knowledge and stories. The visitors' gentle nature and willingness to help were transforming fear into friendship more quickly than anyone expected. Yet, beneath the growing excitement, a few voices raised concerns. Some wondered if the aliens' kindness was a strategy, a way to gain trust before revealing a hidden agenda. The debate was healthy, but it also reminded everyone to remain vigilant. In the evening, the aliens gathered the town's people for a demonstration. With a soft hum, their glowing plants began to pulse rhythmically, releasing a gentle mist that seemed to revitalize the air itself. The town's gardeners noticed how their own plants perked up, their leaves greener and their blooms brighter. It was as if the aliens were sharing a piece of their world, a gift of life. Emma felt a tear slip down her cheek as she watched the crowd's reaction. Hope and awe mixed with a sense of responsibility. This was more than an encounter. It was an opportunity to heal, to grow, and to embrace a future where two species could thrive together. That night, as the town settled under a canopy of stars, conversations turned to dreams. What could humanity achieve with this newfound friendship? What mysteries of the universe might be unlocked? And most importantly, how could they protect this fragile trust? The aliens, too, seemed to sense the weight of the moment. Their glowing eyes reflected a shared hope, a silent promise that their arrival was just the beginning of a journey far greater than anyone had imagined. As the town drifted to sleep, the promise of tomorrow shimmered in the air. The confetti bombing had sparked more than surprise. It had ignited a flame of hope that burned bright in every heart. And so, with cautious optimism, the town awaited the next step on a path that would forever change the story of humanity. Days passed, and the town settled into a rhythm unlike anything it had ever known. The aliens had become part of daily life, quiet observers, playful companions, and gentle teachers. Their presence was no longer a shocking event, but a new chapter unfolding slowly, revealing mysteries and possibilities. Emma found herself drawn to the aliens' glowing pods every morning. She loved watching their curious eyes as they explored Earth's simple wonders, the dew on leaves, the way sunlight danced on water, the laughter of children playing nearby. The aliens seemed fascinated by the smallest details, as if rediscovering joy in things humans often overlooked. One afternoon, the town gathered again in the square for what Helen called a moment of sharing. The aliens had prepared something special. They placed a circular device in the center, glowing softly with shifting colors. As it activated, images appeared in the air above it, holograms of distant worlds, vast cities shimmering under alien suns, and strange creatures living in harmony. The crowd watched in silent awe. The aliens wanted to show their home, to build a bridge of understanding through shared stories. It was both beautiful and humbling. The images told tales of loss, hope, and resilience, the same emotions that tied humans to their own history. Helen spoke softly. We see ourselves in these stories. Our pain, our dreams, they are not so different. The aliens responded with soft sounds, almost like a sigh of relief, grateful that their message was understood. That evening, as conversations lingered on what had been shared, a new question rose among the townspeople. Could this connection help solve Earth's challenges? Pollution, loneliness, conflict. Could these visitors offer more than friendship? Could they bring change? Emma felt the weight of this question deeply. She had always believed in the power of kindness, but now wondered about the responsibility that came with it. Suddenly, the aliens invited a small group to follow them to the edge of town, near the forest. There, they revealed a device unlike anything seen before, a shimmering sphere that pulsed with energy. The air around it felt cleaner, lighter. The aliens demonstrated how it worked. The sphere could absorb toxins from the soil and air, restoring health to the environment. It was a gift, a promise of healing. Scientists and townsfolk worked together, setting up the device near the river that had long been polluted. Within hours, the water began to clear, fish returned, and the plants along the banks perked up. The town watched in awe as the alien technology breathed new life into their world. But this miracle came with a quiet reminder. Such gifts must be used wisely. The aliens' eyes held a serious depth, as if urging humanity to take responsibility, to care not just for themselves, but for the planet they shared. The experience stirred hope and humility alike. The townspeople realized that friendship with the stars was more than fascination. It was a call to stewardship. As night fell, Emma walked home beneath a sky full of stars, her heart full of questions and dreams. The aliens had arrived not to conquer or command, but to share and heal. Their bombing of confetti was a playful beginning to something far greater, a partnership that could redefine humanity's future. And as the glowing orbs floated gently around the town, lighting the darkness with soft warmth, everyone understood that this was only the start of a journey towards something extraordinary. The following morning, a hush settled over the town. The events of the past week had woven the aliens into the fabric of daily life, yet questions lingered beneath the surface. Emma felt a restless energy as she walked through the streets, sensing that something important was about to unfold. The aliens had been quiet for hours, their usual playful curiosity replaced by a calm intensity. In the town square, The small creatures gathered around a new device, sleek, silver, and humming softly with an unfamiliar energy. The townspeople watched with a mix of awe and apprehension. What was this new gift? What message did it carry? Helen stepped forward, addressing the crowd with steady resolve. This is a moment for all of us to listen carefully. Our visitors have offered more than friendship. They bring knowledge that could change everything. But it requires trust, patience, and courage. Emma's heart pounded. The device pulsed with light, projecting a translucent map of the stars above. The aliens pointed to specific points, highlighting distant systems that seemed within reach but filled with unknown dangers. It was a call to explore, to connect, to learn. The room filled with whispers. Some were eager, eyes bright with excitement, others wary, clinging to caution. George, the retired teacher, raised his voice gently. We have faced fear before, but fear should not stop us from reaching for the stars. This is our chance to grow beyond our past. The aliens communicated through soft chimes and delicate gestures, inviting a small team to join them on a journey beyond Earth's boundaries. Volunteers stepped forward, scientists, engineers, and a few brave townspeople. Emma hesitated, then found herself among them, driven by a deep desire to understand. The spacecraft was unlike anything imagined, compact, glowing with soft light, and humming with quiet power. As the hatch closed, Emma felt a mixture of excitement and trepidation. Outside, the town watched in hopeful silence. The journey began with a gentle vibration, the stars stretching into lines of light as they accelerated through the cosmos. Emma's mind raced with thoughts of what awaited them. New worlds, new friends, but also unknown risks. Hours passed, then days. The crew worked closely with the aliens, learning to operate advanced technology and decode unfamiliar languages. Every discovery was a step into the unknown, a testament to the courage of those willing to reach beyond comfort. One evening, the ship approached a shimmering planet, its surface alive with colors and movement. The aliens signaled to slow, and the crew peered out, breathless with wonder. This world was a mosaic of life, strange and beautiful. As the ship landed, Emma felt the weight of history. They were the first humans to step onto this distant soil, ambassadors of Earth and of friendship. The aliens led the way, their excitement palpable despite their calm appearance. The planet's inhabitants emerged, tall, elegant beings with eyes that reflected starlight. They greeted the newcomers with open hands and gentle smiles, echoing the warmth Emma had come to associate with the small aliens from Earth. Dialogue began, slow and careful, but filled with promise. Shared stories, gestures, and symbols created a tapestry of understanding. The crew realized that this was more than exploration. It was the birth of an interstellar community. Back on Earth, the town waited, their hopes pinned on the brave few among the stars. The confetti bombing had been the first step in a journey that now stretched across galaxies. Emma knew this was only the beginning, a story that would be told for generations. As night deepened, the ship's lights shone like distant stars, guiding humanity toward a future where fear gave way to connection, and strangers became friends across the vastness of space. Back on Earth, the town buzzed with anticipation. Days had turned into weeks since the small group had embarked on their journey beyond the stars. Life continued, but everyone felt the invisible thread connecting them to the explorers far away. The once quiet streets now held a new energy, a shared hope and curiosity that had touched even the most skeptical hearts. Emma stood in the town square, surrounded by glowing plants and soft lantern light. She thought of the distant world, of the beings they had met, and the bridge they had begun to build between galaxies. The confetti bombing, the whimsical, harmless arrival, felt like a distant memory, the spark that had ignited something extraordinary. Suddenly, the night sky flickered. A soft pulse of light appeared far above, growing brighter and closer. The crowd gasped as the spacecraft returned, descending gracefully, its hull shimmering with colors that danced like northern lights. It was a homecoming, a reunion that felt both miraculous and inevitable. The hatch opened, and one by one, the explorers emerged, faces glowing with excitement and wonder. Emma stepped forward, her heart swelling with pride and relief. Behind her, the aliens from Earth gathered, their eyes shining with joy. Stories poured out, tales of distant planets where life thrived in breathtaking forms, where challenges had been met with courage and friendship. The explorers spoke of new alliances, shared knowledge, and a vision of unity across the stars. They told of peaceful exchanges, of technology that healed rather than harmed, and of a future shaped by cooperation. The town listened, captivated. Skepticism softened into belief. Fear melted into hope. This was no longer just a story of alien visitors. It was a story of humanity's potential, of what could be achieved when open hearts and open minds embraced the unknown. Emma shared how the alien technology had helped heal the polluted river and how communities had come together to protect the environment. She spoke of the lessons learned, not just about other worlds, but about themselves. "We are stronger when we choose kindness over fear," she said softly. Mayor Helen announced plans to build a center dedicated to interstellar study and cooperation. The town would become a beacon of unity, a place where humans and aliens could learn from each other and prepare for the adventures yet to come. As the celebration grew, children danced alongside the small aliens, their laughter mingling in the cool night air. The glowing plants shimmered gently, symbols of the fragile yet enduring bond formed between two worlds. Later, Emma found herself looking up at the stars, feeling a deep sense of peace. The journey was far from over, but the path was clear. Together, they had transformed fear into friendship, strangers into allies. The confetti bombing had been the beginning, a playful, unexpected moment that had opened the door to something much greater. Now, with trust as their foundation, humanity stood ready to step into the vast unknown, not as conquerors, but as partners in a cosmic dance. And as the night stretched on, the town slept under the watchful eyes of the universe, dreaming of stars, friendship, and a future where anything was possible.